بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Dear brothers and sisters from UICA community, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And to all of you who are following this short summary of today's khutbah, may the peace and blessings of God be upon you. I feel obliged to record this video because today we had a problem with our camera, and I guess the microphone did not work well. Therefore, I'm recording this summary of what I spoke today in the Friday Khutbah. So today's khutbah was about staying positive, being inspiring, and overall being optimistic and not pessimistic. And I started talking about optimism in relation to the character or to one of the purposes why Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was sent in this world. And one of those purposes was to be somebody who gives glad tidings to the people. And someone who gives glad tidings to the people is somebody who is pretty much calling for optimism. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Ahzab, He said, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu inna arsalnaka shahidan ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا وبشر المؤمنين بأن لهم من الله فضلا كبيرا. So here in Surah Al-Ahzab, God talks about the reasons why He sent the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. He said, O you Prophet, indeed we have sent you as a witness. In other words, Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, he witnesses to the people the beauty of God, the blessings of God, the ability of God to create, and overall the existence of God. He is a witness of that. And then the verse continues by saying, and also you are sent as somebody who gives glad tidings, somebody who tells the people that as long as you continue to do good, as long as you continue following this guideline, you're going to have a reward in this world, and also you're going to have the biggest reward in the hereafter, which is paradise. So this was the quality of the Prophet ﷺ. And then later on, the verse continues by saying, وَنَذِيرًا, and you are also sent as somebody who warns people. Somebody who warns doesn't mean, or it does not indicate that he was a pessimistic. A pessimistic is somebody who completely loses the hope. I say this because, or I have chosen to talk about this topic today on this Blessed Friday, because currently the pandemic here in Arizona is the fastest growing throughout the world, as a matter of fact, not only in the United States, but all over the world. So for sure, there are a lot of individuals out there who are very afraid of what's going to happen to them in the future. There is a lot of anxiety in the society, and that doesn't discriminate between religions and races and you name it. So a lot of people are afraid, and our faith during these times of turbulences, these difficult times, it teaches us to remain positive and to remain hopeful always. Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in one of the hadiths, one of the statements he said, and this comes to us from Sayyidina Abu Huraira radiallahu anhu, and we find this in the Jami' of Imam Tirmidhi. He says, "Ud'u Allah wa antum muqinuna bil ijaba." Pray to God, or ask God, supplicate to God, while you are positive, hopeful that He is going to answer your prayer or your call. So He is instructing us on how to deal with this essential part of worship. And these are not just day-to-day matters, but this is, when I say matters, matters with other people or insignificant matters. Not that matters with other people are insignificant, but there are some other insignificant matters. So he doesn't talk about that. For sure, we have to be hopeful about our interactions with others and all the other matters. But he's talking about something that is very essential here, which is the prayer, which is the connection between you and your Creator. And during that time when you are, establishing that connection and asking God something, you have to be in a state of mind and a spiritual state as well, where you are convinced with a conviction that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to answer your call. That's what he says, "Udu'u Allah wa antum muqinuna bil ijaba." Ask God while you are positive and hopeful that He is going to answer you back. And you have hadith about the night of Qadr, for example, or the month of Ramadan, where he says, "Man sama Ramadan imanan wa ihtisaban ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi, aw man qama laylatul Qadr ghufira lahu ma taqaddama min dhanbi." Whosoever fasts the month of Ramadan with full faith and at the same time being hopeful, remaining positive and hopeful that God is going to accept it, that person's sins will all be wiped out. So he says the same thing for the night of Qadr, and he says the same thing for the whole month of Ramadan. Now you can see here that Prophet ﷺ is indicating constantly to remain hopeful that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to answer. And there is a very striking example, and this is also in the Jami' of Imam Tirmidhi. Here Prophet ﷺ is dealing with a person who is going through the most difficult time in his life, and this was a young person, and he was facing death very much, and he goes to visit the person, and he says, "How are you?" Now, a lot of people may think that how insignificant that question is for somebody who's about to die, and you're asking, "How are you?" It has to be taken in a different context, and the context of that one is that Prophet ﷺ is looking for his spiritual state. And the following conversation leads us to that understanding, that he is looking for his spiritual state to see how he is. Perhaps he may be a healer at that time if it's needed. Perhaps he may give the right advice of how to leave this world in peace. So he was looking for whatever alternative, whatever chance he had to better the situation of this young person if he needed. That's why he says, "How are you?" How are you meaning spiritually? How are you internally during this difficult time? And this young person, he says, "I have much hope from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I have much hope. It means that I hope that God is going to forgive my sins and will show mercy on me and all of that. But at the same time," he says, "I also fear for my sins." So the first thing that we learn here from this young guy is that Prophet ﷺ has taught these individuals to be hopeful. That God is going to show mercy and God is going to save the individuals in this world and in the hereafter as well. And that's what he is mentioning. The first thing he says is that I am hopeful. I have much hope from God, but I also fear for my sins. Meaning that as I hope God is going to save me, I'm also holding myself accountable. I am not forgetting about my shortcomings as well. But that is the first thing though, the hope in God. And then at the same time, I am holding myself accountable. That's why he says, I fear for my sins. And then listen to the answer that Prophet Muhammad ﷺ gave to this young man. He said, the believer who has these two ideas simultaneously, at such time, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfills his hopes and grants him security from fear. Again, I will repeat it again. The believer who has these two ideas simultaneously, meaning that, yes, you do have hope in God, you're hopeful that God is going to save you in the hereafter and send you to paradise. and keeping also in mind about your shortcomings at the same time, such a conviction then is going to cause, or is going to make Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala fulfill the person's hopes, and also grant to that person security from fear. So again, you see right here that Prophet ﷺ is emphasizing on hope, is emphasizing on better days ahead, based on this answer that he received from this individual here. And there are many hadiths and there are many verses from the Quran that we can reflect upon. Another example is the hadith where Prophet ﷺ, he says, when he sends one of his companions to teach people, he says, Bashir wala tunaffir. So give glad tidings to people. He starts with this, give glad tidings to people. And then Yassir, also he incorporates this, make things easy for people. Otherwise, if people they are approached with tasks that are so difficult to be fulfilled, then they may not be successful in doing so. But also, I want to go back again to the ayah that I first started, because I left something also important right there. When we see, I mentioned to you that Prophet ﷺ was sent as a witness to the people, and also he was sent as somebody who gives glad tidings to the people, and as somebody who's a warner. And also the Quran continues by saying, وَسِرَاجًا مُنِيرًا, as, O Prophet, you're also sent as a candle that lights, a shining light that illuminates the hearts of the people and the minds of the people. And then right after that he says, وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, give glad tidings to the believers, that they have بِأَنَّ لَهُم مِّنَ اللَّهِ فَضْلًا كَبِيرًا, they have an enormous grace from God. And that grace is the tranquility, peace, and happiness in this world, and also the ultimate reward in the hereafter, paradise. But here is the place where I want to stop at. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, give glad tidings to the believers. If you remember earlier, the verse talked about the quality of the Prophet, or one of the reasons why God has sent the Prophet to the people is to give them glad tidings. But then again, the following verse starts with the same words again. وَبَشِّرِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ, give glad tidings to the believers. So no other quality mentioned in this in the first verse is emphasized in the first verse or the second verse twice, except this particular quality, which is somebody who delivers glad tidings to the people. And somebody who delivers glad tidings to the people is somebody who is delivering hope to the people. Is somebody who is teaching the others how to be hopeful, how to remain hopeful during difficult times, and also during pleasant times as well. I also mentioned earlier, I want to go back and elaborate a little bit more on the point that I said. Yes, we see the future as something that belongs to God, and whatever He brings on our way, we are either thankful or we are patient, and we win through expressing, or through this conviction that we have in approaching these different scenarios. The other thing is too important to recognize the fact that we do not take off from our responsibilities because of such events or such turbulences that we witness. What I'm trying to say is, a lot of people during such difficult times, they tend to make sure that they are fulfilling their religious duties, and they are staying positive, and they are hopeful. I mean, they would do this very good, but at the same time, they would not stand for their responsibilities. It is very important during a time like this one to recognize that we have responsibilities to ourselves first. What do I mean by that? We have to take care of ourselves. Yes, it is good to perform the prayer. Yes, it is good to work and bring money and bring food to the table. But also you as a person, you have to take care of your body as well, sometimes by working out. And again, that doesn't mean that you go into gyms, or I'm not mentioning that this is important for you to go to the gyms. I'm just saying that it's important for you at least to do a walk, and to be out there and to make sure that physically you're healthy. So this is one of the responsibilities that you have towards yourself. And eating, since a lot of people are home, they tend to eat more and they tend to break that balance. So you have to look after yourself. And the second thing is you have to also be aware of children in your house. If you're a parent and you have children, they have their needs as well. Children, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created you and me when we were children, and the children that are now children. He has created them in such a way where they have to be very active. They have to all the time talk and associate with the others and play with the others, with the other kids. And if they don't have that, it is very, very difficult for them. It is probably, it is something really not normal a time like this one. Therefore, we have to recognize that, and we have to be there for them and fulfill the responsibility of, if you are a parent, fulfill that responsibility of parenting your children by standing during such difficult times and helping them, understanding that situation and helping them within the limits. The other thing is also you have a responsibility as a partner, as a spouse in life, to also make your wife or make your husband happy at the same time. And remember that there are some family activities that you can still do together with your children and your partner. You can go outside to certain places where there is no threat of getting the virus. Within those limits that they are available, you should utilize your time and the place, in order to be active to a certain degree. And also another responsibility you have is towards your community. And I'm aware that many mosques, they continue to provide services even during these difficult times. Our mosque, we have Friday prayers twice, once at 1 and once at 1:30. And we also have other activities. We feed the people who are in need right now. And we are aware that there's a lot of those who are going through crisis. They have no jobs. They have, some of them, no place to live. And UIC, alhamdulillah, through many volunteers and many donors who helped to raise money and even bring food, so we can put a pantry together and help our neighbors, regardless of their faith and backgrounds. So UICA is doing activities, and you as an individual, you have a responsibility to help our mosque. If you live in a different community, you have a responsibility to help your mosque, to continue helping your mosque, because the mosque is still there. Bills, they still need to be paid, whether you perform the Friday prayer there or you don't. Bills and many other expenses, they still have to be paid. So that's something in mind to keep. But also you have responsibilities as an individual in a society where you live, or the community at large where you live. And there are sometimes people who are in charge of the politics, mayors, governors, you name it. These individuals who are responsible for the affairs of the citizens, and sometimes they make mistakes. Sometimes they would value the economy over the lives of the humans. I know that there is a very strong connection between these two, but if it comes to choose, first we have to choose life. And not just simply say that, yes, we choose life, but actually when it comes to the actions, they are in contradiction to the words. And if we see that there is such a behavior from these leaders, we need to stand. We need to make a stand, and we need to correct whatever we can. Remember the hadith of Prophet ﷺ that says, if somebody can change something with their hands, then they should do it when they see something wrong, right? And if they cannot do that, then they need to say something against it. So that thing can be corrected. And if they cannot do that, then at least they should not feel comfortable in their hearts when they see that thing bad happening out there. So keeping these things in mind, that we have to be hopeful during these difficult times. we have to also recognize how Prophet and how teachings of Islam emphasize on remaining hopeful, and also reflecting on our responsibilities during these times. These are crucial components that will help us cope with this difficult situation that we're in. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keeps every single one of you safe and makes us among those who pass this test successful, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Wa sallallahu wa sallam wa barik ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.